Okay, we are now live on YouTube. Sean, anytime you'd like to commence the meeting, go ahead.
Thanks, Darlene. I'll give it another 30 seconds or so when the clock hits 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean House. I'm a planner with the city of Brantford, and we're having this meeting tonight because we've received an application to amend the zoning bylaw for the property addressed as 381 to 393 Colborne Street. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube and will be available for viewing afterwards as well. So if you're viewing and have comments or questions that haven't been brought forward, please feel free to let me know. I can do my best to have those questions answered. And this is our first public meeting for this application. It's known as a neighborhood meeting. And really the purpose of it here is to just elicit feedback, which the applicant can then take back to their proposal and take that feedback into consideration. The next meeting, which a date hasn't been set for yet, that will be the statutory public meeting as required by the Planning Act, which will be presented to the Committee of the Whole Community Development. And at that meeting, members of the public will also have an opportunity to speak for or against the proposal. So just to give a brief breakdown of how this meeting will unfold, I'll start off by introducing the applicant who's here. I'll be doing a breakdown of what the zoning process is and how this zoning amendment application works. The agent for this proposal will then have an opportunity to present more of the specific details of this proposal, as well as responding to some public comments that have already been received. After the agent is done, we'll open up the floor to members of the public who have registered for this meeting to provide any questions or comments, and the applicant will then respond to those questions and comments. So to start off by introduction, unfortunately, our local ward councillors, Councillor Van Tilborg and Councillor Wall, send their regrets they weren't able to attend this meeting. Councillor Wall has provided his cell phone number and contact information to me. So if anyone wants to get in touch with him about this project, if you send me an email, I'll be able to provide his cell phone number to you. I've introduced myself. I'm the planner on this file with the city of Brantford, and presenting for the applicant is Odette Gomes from IBI Group. So at a high level, this proposal is to construct a 6-story mixed-use building with some commercial space on the ground floor and 50 apartment units on the upper 5 floors. So I'll provide an overview of how the planning process works and then present it over to Odette to provide some more of the specifics of the proposal. So what a zoning bylaw amendment is, it's an application that's required by the Planning Act. And the zoning bylaw is something that puts our official plan into effect. It states how land may be used, where buildings and other structures can be located, the types of buildings that are permitted, and how they may be used. It also regulates things like lot sizes and dimensions, parking requirements, building heights, and setbacks from the street. So when a proposal is brought forward that doesn't comply with the zoning bylaw amendment application is then required. So in terms of the existing designations on this property, it is currently designated general commercial in the official plan. And that designation does permit what is being proposed here tonight. However, the zoning bylaw designates a general commercial exception 88 zone, and the mixed use building that is currently proposed is not permitted, hence the need for the zoning bylaw amendment. So in a nutshell, that's how this planning application works. We're taking in public feedback at this meeting, and there'll be another public meeting when this goes to council. So with that, I think I'll pass things over to Odette if you want to present your proposal.
Sure. Thank you.
I'll just bring up your slideshow.
Thank you.
All right, can you see that, Odette?
I can see it. It's great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sean. So my name is Odette Gomes, a planner with IBI Group, and I am representing the landowners here. This subject site does consist of approximately 0.4 acres of land and is municipally referred to as 381 to 393 Colborne Street East in the city of Brantford. Next slide, please. The subject lands consists of 2 parcels that are mostly vacant with 1-story commercial building that's located at 381 Colborne Street East. What we are proposing, we're requesting for a 6-story mixed-use building with ground floor commercial and 5 stories of residential units. Next slide, please. So the current development proposes to demolish that existing building and then construct the 6-story mixed-use building fronting onto Colborne Street. The ground floor will consist of a commercial space fronting onto Colborne Street, and then all the building components will also be on the ground floor. There'll be no residential or nothing else on the ground floor except the commercial. And then there'll also be 14 at-grade parking spaces at the back of the property. Next slide, please. So 5 stories of the building will be for residential purposes with 10 units per floor. And the size of these units range from 600 to 900 square feet in size. There will also be a large rooftop amenity space for the exclusive use of the residents. And the next slide, please. 1 floor of underground parking containing 29 parking spaces will also be provided, and vehicular access to Colborne Street will be provided along the eastern side of the proposed building. Next slide, please. So the subject lands are located in the built up area of the city of Brantford on the peripheral of the urban growth center. The proposed development will contribute to the residential intensification targets. So the newly adopted official plan designates these lands as strategic growth area and intensification corridor. Although this official plan has not received full approval yet, but it is the future of the city of Brantford and what the city of Brantford is looking for. The strategic growth areas are expected to include a broad mix of higher density residential uses and a full range of commercial uses as well. The strategic growth areas have the potential to accommodate significant growth in an intensification built form with mid-rise and high-rise buildings. The strategic growth areas also play a crucial role in achieving the city's intensification and density targets. The proposed development is a permitted use within the intensification corridor and represents a transit-oriented development that will promote a higher use of transit through reduced parking standards. The city has just completed this very extensive official plan process, and the intent for these lands are for intensification and growth, which is reflected in our development proposal. Not only are these lands intended for intensification and growth, but predominantly all the lands along Colborne Street. Colborne Street, situated north of the subject lands, is a one-way street traversing west to east, which has on-street parking on both sides, including in front of the subject lands. A bus stop serviced by Brantford Transit and GO Transit is located along the frontage of the site. A transportation impact study and parking study were also completed in support of the proposed development, which confirmed that the on-site parking supply for the residential units of 0.8 per unit is appropriate, as the demand is forecasted to be 0.77 parking spaces per unit. Directly opposite the subject lands is Alexandra Park, where residents can enjoy the open space and associated recreational opportunities. I believe the proposed development meets with the city's intentions and represents good planning, as it provides for intensification of an infill site. So given that this is a neighborhood meeting and we want to save most of the time for questions and answers, I think I'll end it there and just maybe focus on some of the questions that the residents may have.
Okay, Odette and Sean, thank you very much. I'm going to allow, we have 3 attendees that would like to ask questions. The first one being Diana Terpstra. And Diana, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Great, go ahead with your question.
Okay, my first concern is regarding the height of the building and the impact of the surrounding people. Has that been considered in the package?
Yes, it has.
And what were your findings?
That there's not an impact.
Have you considered the light exposure to the people surrounding the building, the morning rising sun and the evening sun that would cast shadows on both sides, on either side of the day?
Yes, there's also strict regulations where it comes to lighting. So photometrics studies have been done and will be further required to ensure that the light stays on the property. There'll also be fencing to ensure that the light doesn't go across to the neighboring properties as well.
Has it been considered the privacy of the residents, because now they'll have a 6-story building looking directly into the yards and backyards?
So one of the questions I think that came up was about balconies. One of the options is not to have balconies on the inside of the property and just focus the balconies to the units facing Colborne Street. We do have a rooftop amenity fronting onto Colborne Street that takes care of most of the needs of the amenity space. So that's something that we can definitely consider. And again, this is an intensification corridor. So this is really what the city is looking for these type of areas.
In regards to that rooftop and that amenity, considering this global warming that we're all feeling, how are these people to get relief in the summertime if they're on the rooftop of a concrete building?
There'll be measures that are put in place. It has to be properly designed. There will be sheltered areas. There'll be covered areas. Definitely have a lot of design consideration will be put into place. And again, if people don't want to be sitting outside, they just stay in their own units when it's too hot, just like the rest of us do, I guess.
You pointed out that Alexandra Park offers the opportunity for the residents to enjoy the green space. Have you considered the impact of those new residents potentially using that space, as well as the people who exist here, and what that would do to the traffic and condition of Alexandra Park?
So I'm sure that's something that the city's already taken into consideration. So again, the city's gone through this extensive official plan. A brand new official plan has been prepared, and all the lands along Colborne Street, both sides of Colborne Street, are going to be designated for this intensification and strategic growth areas. So all of that has been looked at and reviewed through that process, including transportation master plan, all of that. So that's just a process that they've just finalized. So I know all of that has been looked at.
So then you're aware that there's no plan for cooling, green space, recreation for the influx of peoples?
I'm not aware of the details of that.
Okay. And in regards to the storefronts, is there a plan for businesses coming into these shops? Because we do have quite a vacant number of downtown shops that we've looked at for years. And now the question is, who is going to be the new store owners here?
Yeah, so there actually is a plan, and it's the owners have a business that they're looking to move into this location. They rent somewhere else, and they're looking to move it into this location.
Are you aware of what the business is?
Yes, I am. And
Can you tell us?
it's a business that doesn't have really people that walk off the street. It's more just for the employees.
Can you tell us what the business is?
It's a travel company.
Will that occupy the entire main floor?
The commercial space, yeah.
That would all be the travel company.
Yes.
Residential, what are they gonna be?
My husband is here with me as well.
So you're talking about the residential units. We got the paper here that says it's gonna be condominiums, and you talking about apartments.
They're condominiums.
Condominiums, okay, and what's gonna happen if they're not gonna be sold? Are they gonna be turned over into rental units?
I don't have an answer for that for you, but before they build it, they have to have a certain amount of units sold before they can actually start building it.
How many
So-
units is that?
Pardon?
How many units is that?
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking it's around 70%, but don't quote me on that. But typically it's a pretty high percentage that you need to have sold before the construction starts.
So
When it's a
you guys calculate 0.7 cars per unit,
0.8, yeah.
0.8, okay, so
Who owns a 0.8 of a car?
yeah, nobody owns 0.8 of a car, and a lot of people have 2 cars, so where will these cars be parked in the middle of winter when there is reduced parking here already?
Yes, so the way that it works, it just means that not everybody will have a parking spot. So the units will be sold with a parking spot. So if they don't buy a unit with a parking spot, and we're trying to promote, these areas are trying to promote transit-oriented development. So right, people that are riding the bus, people that are walking where they need to go. So that's what we're trying to promote in these intensification areas. And if there's still a requirement, if they still have a requirement outside of the development for a car, then they would have to find one in a parking garage, or they would have, just like they do anywhere else. Not every development has the same amount of parking that everybody requires. So that would just be the same case. They would just have to find.
They will have to find parking on the neighboring streets.
No, they would have to go and rent a parking spot.
Yeah, where?
But we are promoting just some smaller units and some smaller condominiums here, right? So they're not going to be like for large families or anything like that. That it might be more for just a single person or a couple or something like that, 2 people. They're not large units. So again, we're not promoting families or a lot of people to be
What
living
are the
here.
price entry points of those condominiums?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
How much are the price entry points of those condominiums?
I wouldn't know the answer to that.
I mean, you're targeting, you guys promoting yourself as a business, and the way you're talking, you're targeting such a small group of people who can live in there. 80 almost got to have no car, or they got to have a disability or something, so they take the bus. It's something doesn't make sense there to me.
We're trying to provide units that provide more affordability. I mean, not everyone can afford to live in a single detached house anymore, or live in a large apartment, or live somewhere where there's a lot of luxuries and amenities. So I think this does target a lot of different people. And again, it's if you need more parking, then they will have to find parking.
That's all gonna be on the street, as long as everybody knows that. in around our houses where we live.
There shouldn't be overnight parking, so people that live there will have to find permanent parking spots if they require more than what's there.
Okay, can the city say where they would be?
Well, if I could jump in, the applicant here has submitted a parking study, a parking reduction study, which is supportive of their proposal prepared by a professional engineer. We haven't endorsed that study yet, but it is currently under review by our transportation department.
Is this a low-income housing that you're proposing? Because you talked about affordability.
No, it's not. Affordability and affordable housing are kind of two different things. So it's not an affordable housing development.
And what are the demographics of the people that you are proposing to come to buy condominiums?
All demographics.
All demographics. And you're trying to capture a group that would take local transit then?
Yes.
What is the percentage of people in Brantford now using local transit?
I don't know that answer.
That's a very important answer to ask, if that's your target.
I think that's the city's intention, though. It's to create these intensification areas and areas that are dependent on transit. Excuse me.
But if you present a business opportunity, right? You guys want to sell these things. If the things are not being sold to people without a car, what are you guys going to do with the units?
Well,
You're limiting yourself to a certain class of people.
That's a business decision that the owners make. I'm just here representing them and going through the planning process. So there's a huge demographics of people that depend on transit. There's a lot of professionals, young professionals. There's a lot of different demographics. There's older people that just need a small place to live and don't necessarily rely on a car. There's a huge, and it doesn't mean that they're not the right kind of group.
I don't have any other questions.
Neither do I. We could go to the next person, please.
Thank you for your questions, Diana, and your husband. Next, we have Susan Cheevers, who would like to ask a few questions. Susan, if you can hear us, you can go ahead with your question. Susan, can you hear us? She might be having a few technical difficulties. Just give me a second, Sean, and I'm going to promote her to a panelist. She might be having some difficulties. I'll give her a moment to sort that out. We do have Novia Grant Simon, who would like to ask a few questions. Novia, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so it seems as if our good friends Diana and Stuart have already asked a lot of the very important questions that I was going to propose. However, I am a little bit stuck on the issue surrounding parking. It's really not clear to me how it is that we can have 50 units and only, 29 parking underground and 14 on the road. Like there are definitely there definitely will be an overflow of parking on the neighboring streets. There's already an existing issue with that. I don't see this being a very, I don't see it being a very sensible move. My thoughts are, if there was less units and you had enough parking to pair with the amount of units, that would be the more sensible thing. However, yeah, I really don't, yeah, I really am stuck to understand the sense in all of this. It's not working for me.
I would like to chime in a little bit and see, and I'm building this building based on this is Dion Novelle's husband, sorry. Yeah. Doing this building based on a study that's just being done. That doesn't make sense to me. I think you would think that the study would be completed and you would have answers here today.
Sorry, which study are you referring to? Like the transportation study?
Yeah.
The transportation impact study and the parking study have both been completed, and they have both been submitted as part of this submission. I think what Sean was referring to is that the city is still reviewing it, and then they provide their comments on it, whether they agree or not. So again, those studies have been completed by professional engineers, and there are terms of reference that come from the city, and there's a whole process to doing that transportation study and coming up with the findings. So again, all of that is completed. It's just the city is reviewing it and providing their comments. So we'll have to see what comes out of the city's review.
Okay.
Was there any follow-up question, Novia?
I'll have to just take some time to think. I think, like I said, the Terpstras did a very good job of capturing the main concerns that were there. So I don't have anything further at the moment.
I have another question concerning, I heard something about a fence that would be built, has something to do with the lighting. How tall would this fence be? And
so the fence would be a standard privacy fence. And again, through the city's review, there may be a recommendation for something different. But a photometric study is required. It has to be done according to the specifications. We have to ensure that all the lighting stays on the site and doesn't go on to anyone else's property. So that's just something standard that has to be done.
So we have 50 units going in. So that's, you were looking at 10 units per floor. Is that what we're looking at? Yeah. And so approximately maybe 150 people moving into.
Again, a lot of the units are smaller, so probably not that many.
So you're saying that average of 3 people can't live in one of those units?
They'll be small. I think it's mostly going to be singles and maybe 2 people.
So you guys would limit how many people could live in a unit?
No, we don't limit, but we're just saying that's probably the average.
Yeah, because I think what my husband's trying to get at, when you're talking about affordable housing and you're targeting a certain demographic of individuals purchasing these places, now you're looking at, okay, someone who does not have the greatest income can probably afford one of these apartments, and they could possibly be a growing family, and they're willing to make that sacrifice to have 4 to 5 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. You know, so we have to really look at things like that. And I mean, yes, you talk about the fact that you're targeting individuals that might be relying on transit, but the reality is there's a lot of individuals nowadays, young kids, teenagers that are owning vehicles. So, I don't know how it is that you come up with those kind of like theories, but realistically, there could be a possibility of a lot of people wanting to buy these. And what are you going to do? Turn away, someone and say, I'm sorry, you have too many vehicles, so we can't sell you this unit?
That's just the way the marketing is done. So if there's a unit that is sold with one parking spot, that's what you get. If you need more parking, then again, you'll have to go find a parking garage, find a lot that rents the parking spots per month. That's just the way that it works across the board, because you could have a condominium development that is much bigger and that they sell you 2 parking spots and you still need 3 or 4. It's the same idea. You'd have to just go and find the parking for it. The units are sold with the 1 parking spot, or some may not have a parking spot with it, and that's what you buy.
Okay, so just another thought, when you're speaking of parking garage that people can, rent, I don't know if, do you live in Brantford? Do you live in this area? Like, are you aware of the nearest parking garage that would be close for someone to access in a situation like that? Because I can't think of one.
Well, it's not even just parking garages. It could be a private parking facility. Again, this is what is sold. So this is what you're buying. You buy it if this meets your needs. So,
Yeah.
And that's the same again everywhere. It's not specific to just this development.
Everywhere in Brantford?
No, anywhere, any development, anywhere. If a condominium is sold with 1 parking spot and you need more, then you either rent one from somebody else on the site that doesn't need it, or you go outside and you find the parking that you require. When you buy it, you know what you're getting.
Well, in this case, I don't think they should adopt that.
Yeah, well, I've been living, well, currently I don't live in the area, but I do have tenants that are still, actually I have tenants that are in the back of the property. And I can tell you right now, when I was living there, it was a nightmare. Parking was a nightmare. And that's going back 7 years ago. It has not changed. It has gotten increasingly worse. And I myself, just knowing the area, after living in that area for over 35 years, I can't think of any area that is nearby that's easily accessible for someone to go and park their vehicle, any kind of a private facility or parking garage of any sort. That would be a sensible thing for someone to say, go park their vehicle and walk within a minute or 2 to get back to their apartment or their condominium unit. I do not see that anywhere in the neighborhood. It just does not exist.
So again, the transportation study that was prepared, the parking study that was prepared does support what we're proposing.
And if I could jump in, Novia, I'm happy to share those studies with you. If you want to send me an email after the meeting, I can send those to you.
What I would like, Sean, is for you to tell me, we can have discussions about the studies, but I would like to know right now if there's a place that pops out in anyone's mind as to where these people would go to park, pay to park, where?
Something even from this study.
Yeah, where are these areas right now? They don't exist.
Right. Like I said, those studies are under review, but what I think Odette was trying to convey is, people will be making that choice to move here. And if they do have more vehicles than what the parking can be provided, they may choose not to buy a condominium here.
I don't think I have anything further at the moment.
Thank you, Novia. Lastly, we have Susan Cheevers. We'll try again and see if she's able to hear us.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Hi, Susan. Go ahead with your question, please.
Okay, I have a few questions. It's Nikki. I live at 62. I'm here with Susan because I can't get my Zoom to work. My property backs right onto the property in discussion. So I have a few issues. Some have somewhat been addressed. One of them being, of course, parking, as the cars will be right up against my fence. So as far as lighting, as far as parking itself, again, I'm going to reiterate what Novia and Mr. and Mrs. Terpstra has also said. It is very difficult to find parking on East Ave as it stands. I don't have a parking, or I don't have a driveway. So I have to rely on street parking, which I will tell you now, without 50 units behind me, is already difficult on a good day. So regardless of what your study shows, it's not reality of what it is on a day-to-day basis being in this neighborhood. I've lived here for 21 years. I've owned that home. I've worked really hard at that home. I've made it my own little paradise. The last thing I need is 6 stories of people looking over my backyard. So not only do I have concerns about light, the noise of the cars going off at night, the noise of cars just even starting early in the morning, all the way through the whole day and even into the evening. I love my backyard. I spend a lot of time in there. I really don't want the lights shining in from cars, the alarms going off, the noise of people just coming and going of that degree. My one concern as well is also the garbage. Where is that garbage going to be stored? It's going to be stored at the back of the building. Are we going to have issues with smell? Are we going to have issues with rodents? Are we also going to have the issue of now we're having a big truck coming in to empty those dumpsters? What are we going to do about that?
Garbage collection, like the garbage storage, is inside the building. It's not outside.
Okay, so how does that garbage get to the street?
It's a private collection.
Okay, so are we going to have big garbage trucks coming in to pick this up in the parking lot?
You'll have a private truck coming in and disposing of the
So
garbage.
that's exactly was my concern. So that was my issue of garbage storage, garbage noise. My other concern again is, are there going to be balconies that face my property? Or are they only on the front of that building? Or on the patio?
Yeah, that's something that we discussed earlier, is that the balconies most likely would just be on the front of the building, fronting onto Colborne Street.
Most likely, or for sure will be?
It's something that we can discuss.
Well, that's what I thought we were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the owners have the decision, right? But it's something I will discuss with them.
Well, I would appreciate that, because this is impacting all of our lives over here, and it's impacting us even on a financial level. Our properties are not going to be worth what they are now if there's a 6-story apartment building. I don't know if any of you guys right now in City Hall, or you yourself, Odette, have a 6-story apartment building in your backyard. But I'm sure that if you looked at property and you knew that there was going to be one, or there was one already, it would deter you from buying. Because it absolutely would deter me from buying. I would not live with an apartment right behind my home like that. So how is that going to compensate all of us who are losing financially as well? We've lived in this area for over 20 years. We've paid our property taxes. We've invested into this neighborhood. Where is this going to help us when in fact we are actually losing?
Thank you for your comments.
Susan, do you have any other questions, or yourself, Nikki?
Susan?
I'm thinking, I'm sorry, I'm so angry, I really can't speak. Let's go back to the city buses for a minute. You said that you're having all these people load the buses. Well, Brantford buses are, for the most part, empty. You talked about the beautiful green space, Alexander Park. Did you know what it is, what's in there? Homeless people, tents, crack addicts, needles, garbage, dog crap. That's a real enticement to buy down there. You said 6 stories, now it's 7 because you've added a rooftop patio. I'm not happy with this. I wrote a long letter to Sean, is it Sean? this morning, and I would like you to read it, or I can read it now. Also, there's one other thing. You tried this, the city tried doing the amendment around 11 years ago, right around when my son died. And so we went to City Hall and it got denied. So why are we doing this all over again? What is wrong with 3 or 4 stories? Also, you're going to have a travel agent that is a whole city block long. I call BS on that one. Not one travel agent needs that much space because everyone does everything online. So what else is going down there that you're not telling us? Also, if you go to any court documents, there was contaminated water in 2014. They won a lawsuit. I don't know and remember all the details. You people with experience can check that out. I did see drilling in that yard, and I would like to know what the water and the, you know, what it said. What did the soil level say? And do the people buying it know that it may or may not still be contaminated? And right now I'm mad, and I'll just save some more up for the next meeting. And wait, parking. Yeah, I live right here and the parking lot is full. My family all have had tickets because the parking is ridiculous. There is no pay-as-you-go parking on somebody's lot down the street. In fact, I might put up a little outfit up front, say, you know, $10 parking. There's no parking. All these older, beautiful homes have been duplexed and triplexed, and so almost every building has 3 or 4 apartments and parking issues. And some of these people have a man and a woman or whatever, and they all have 2 cars. So don't tell me you're going to rent to people that ride their bikes or take the bus. And God forbid, nobody's going to park downtown, which is 7 blocks away, and truck their butts all the way to their little condo in the stormy, snowy, hot or hazy, any kind of weather. That is a ridiculous idea and concept, and start planning a little better. Anyway, I'm mad, so I apologize for being angry, and I'll be back. I'm not done. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your comments. And just in response, I recognize and thank you for emailing me that letter this morning, and everyone else who has as well. That will be included in the recommendation report to council when a date is selected. So all of council who will be ultimately making the decision will be able to read those letters.
Okay, at this time, Sean, we do not have anyone else as an attendee wanting to ask any questions.
Okay, thanks, Darlene, and thanks everyone for joining this meeting. As you receive notice for this meeting in the mail, you'll also receive notice for the next public meeting when it goes out in the mail. As I mentioned, a date hasn't been selected yet, but you'll have at least 20 days notice as per the Planning Act before that meeting. Okay, Odette, did you have anything else to add?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay.
Anybody can feel free to contact me at any time.
Right. And I did promise Councillor Wall that I would share his cell phone number. If anyone wants to reach him and has a pen and a paper handy, his cell number is 226-387-2229. Okay, thanks again, everyone, for the meeting. I think we can adjourn this.
Excuse me. Oh, just one last question. Odette's contact information, was that disclosed prior to the start of the meeting? I don't remember seeing that.
You can contact Sean and he can provide you all my contact information. You can contact me.
Thank you.
Any way you like. Yep.